Welcome to today's Seidokan Saturday. So last week in my video that I did while cruising the coastal area of the main island of Japan and visiting various cities for a couple of weeks, I posted on the importance of strength in the martial arts. All things being equal, someone of high skill and low strength is going to have a hard time against somebody with a massive strength and low skill. Somewhere those meet in the middle. And just this week, there was an article posted on the Okinawan Facebook page pointing out that in the old days, whatever you want to call those, when we hear of the great masters of the martial arts, particularly on Okinawa, but throughout China and other places, often it wasn't their prowess in defeating people in a fight, a la Miyamoto Musashi, whose kenjutsu and swordsmanship was based on how he was able to defeat other swordsmen in duels. Most of our stories of karate's great masters aren't about winning fights. There are certainly some of those, but a lot of the revered masters that we read about were known for their feats of strength and their athleticism, their ability to jump and put both footprints against the ceiling of a house. Climbing up a pole and then descending it upside down was one of the common feats of strength. Lifting a cow or whatever it may be. The old masters were known for their physiques and the renown that they gained a lot of times as martial artists was as much connected with their strength and athleticism as it was with their abilities as a fighter. Jesse Enkamp recently on his Karate Nerd video site did an interview with a monkey kung fu stylist who reputedly teaches special forces military level guys, and one of the things that he showed was how much he had conditioned his striking hand. His one hand was far more conditioned than his grabbing hand, so he had his grabbing hand, which was strong, but he couldn't even bring the thumb and forefinger together on his striking hand because it was so thickly muscled from training and hitting. And then, of course, he introduced Jesse to some iron palm training, and that can hurt if you don't build up to it gradually. Anyway, all of those conditioning methods, strengthening methods, all of the supplementary exercises that we do are as important, if not more so in some cases, than the actual techniques that we do, the skill side of the martial arts, if you will. Again, I talked about Master Toma, who, as I talked to him and interviewed him, he was a buff guy, okay, at 5'4", 5'6", or whatever he was. He was a very buff guy, and I asked him, what he does to get so buff, and he said, lift weights. And I mentioned how Evander Holyfield's trainer trained his approach as a bodybuilder. We want to put on muscle mass, but in addition to that, we want to have mobility. A lot of times we focus on flexibility and how far we can split and all of those things, but having mobility, the ability to get all the way down in your squat, to sit deep into your leaning, to have hip rotation. Mobility is just as important. So when we look at building muscle, most of the gym activities of a weight training gym are based on three motions. One is called the sagittal plane, which is, if I were to put a sheet of paper here, it's my body's movement in this direction, forward and back. That's the sagittal plane. Secondarily, we have movements on the frontal plane, which would be this lateral, okay? So again, this wall through my body would be sagittal. A wall this way through my body would be the frontal plane. And then we have occasionally the transverse plane, which is rotational. Picture a tabletop here. This is the transverse plane. If you picture a wall this way, that's the frontal plane. And if you picture a wall this way, and you can place yourself against a wall and discover that. But most of them are in that type of movement. In addition to that, for mobility, which I was just mentioning, we want to move in multiplanar motion. So if I'm moving forward and back, but with a twist, this would be a multiplanar motion. If I'm stepping into a lunge position with a twisting motion, when we do circular type kicks, we're coming up and down, which is the sagittal plane, but we're also coming across, which is the transverse plane or rotational movement. So that multiplanar type of movement also needs some kind of training, and typically that's going to be what we call the core. In Japanese, we refer frequently to koshi, which is just the hips, bones and area itself, but in Okinawan, we refer to gamaku, which is more correctly the core. It's everything that is attached to the hip. So any muscle that is attached to my hip, and that includes my lumbar spine and the multifidus, the external and internal abdominals, the obliques, the hip flexors, my glutes themselves. All of these muscles, pretty much from mid-quad up to my solar plexus, are the gamaku area. Our primary function of our core area is to keep us upright and stable and to avoid breaking the spine, okay? So exercises that will emphasize that, okay? This one is called the Palloff press, which is making me pull this way and I'm resisting that pull, and then we do it in the opposite direction as well. But if we take the same thing and go from low to high, now I'm working in a multiplanar. Another great one for multiplanar motion is the side kettlebell swing, the trunk rotation. What I like about this especially, and if you'll watch here, I initiate here, but as I finish, I return. Initiate and return. So we come across and settle. Turn, over, back. This motion is exactly what we're looking for with our punch, and it works the core muscles in a rotational method. This one's really not super heavy to do this with, but then the counter rotation, like the Palloff press, would be the suitcase carry. Carry enough weight here that I have to stabilize with my oblique muscles and just walk, carrying something heavy without leaning to counterbalance it, staying as upright as possible. If you want to add another level to that, you can work stepping with balance while you carry the heavier kettlebell. Those are just a couple of basic exercises to work the gamaku and rotation. And there are all sorts of variants of those things as well. The last thing in my personal standard program is TRX straps. And what I do here, again, goes back to the triplanar or the primarily sagittal direction. And I'll just do a circuit of kettlebell or of TRX strap squats, trying not to lean and pull here, just use it lightly as a balance reference to allow me again to get that full depth of the squat position without falling backwards like I would if I didn't have the straps to stabilize. If I didn't have those, you could still do the full squat, but you'd have to lean forward, which then limits how close your glutes can get to your heels. With the straps, and you can use a doorway, a door jamb, the bar, the ballet bar I have on the side, anything to hold here to allow yourself to do a full torso upright squat. I'll start with that. Second thing I will do is go into push-ups, and you can change the height. So for demonstration purposes, we'll do them here. But the push-up position also is working on stabilizing my core, as well as having to use some stabilizers here. And this is called an open chain movement. So I'm not locked into a bar width. I can actually, if I don't control it, lose position. So we do basic push-ups. That'll be my second. Now I'll go from the push-ups to the row. And again, stabilizing in the core, and the row can come in as a hikite position. The row can come in as a high pull. The row can come into a vertical neutral. And again, we can go lower or higher depending on how much weight I want to put on the straps. The next exercise I'll do is lunges, either forward, back, or sideways, or all three. I might do a complex of back, forward, side, cross, and then repeat. Back, forward, side, cross. And in that way, I'm working all of the areas of the hip, glutes, and legs. So I go leg, push, pull, leg. Then again, I go to push, and my push in this case is going to be triceps from here, pressing out, and again, back further if I want to add more tension and body weight, and keeping a, what they call in gymnastics, a hollow body. So I don't want to arch, don't want to lose structural integrity in my core. I want to make sure my glutes are squeezed, my abs are pulled in, so there's a slight forward pelvic tilt, like what we would expect in Sanchin Kata, as I work my triceps extensions. So I did legs, push, then I'll go to a pull, which would be my biceps curls, trying to keep my elbows high and my body again stabilized. So everything with the TRX is working core. And then lastly, either a single exercise or a complex of exercises for shoulders. The most basic one being the face pull, where I start from neutral fists, turn and pull the backs of my hands toward my ears. And again, as a variation, we can do it a high pull, what we call the I position. We can do the Y position, pulling up and out, or we can do the T position, pulling straight to the sides, which is going to be more of my rear delt. That simple complex of TRX movements, combined with some band work or the kettlebell with rotations, stabilization, and squat, will pretty much give you a good full body conditioning routine. You can separate it out, push, pull, 3 days a week, TRX to kettlebell to band. Go add a fourth day, go to the gym. You can do a bodybuilding workout split. International chest day is Monday, back day is Tuesday. Wednesday, train legs, take a day off Thursday and rest, train arms on Friday, shoulders on Saturday. That's a standard bodybuilding 5-day body part split. You can do lower body, upper body, 2-day-a-week workout. You can do full body circuit training once, twice, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, depending on the intensity with which you train. You can do the circuits fast enough that it actually becomes your cardio. So there are a multitude of ways, options, tools, devices, programs, systems to train at home, in your dojo, at a gym, on your living room floor with calisthenic exercises, multitudinous ways to get a full body strengthening, conditioning workout, which will be the perfect adjunct to improve your martial arts. But the bottom line is, do something, get strong, because strength, absent technique, will often beat technique absent strength. The optimal is to be both. I encourage you to go back and look at pictures of the old masters in their youth. We look at Morihei Yeshiba, little old gray-haired Aikido man on and doing magical things. But we forget to look at him when he was in his 50s and looked like a freaking bulldog because he'd just come out of the Sino-Japanese War. We look at Uehara in his old age, going around and doing just miraculous, magical techniques where he barely moves and is able to catch the right angle. But we don't often go back and look at him when he looked more like Bruce Lee in the most cut of his days. We look at Seikichi Odo with his shaking fists doing his techniques. Go back and look at Odo Sensei when he was young. He was, again, a Bruce Lee specimen of physique. Not that we have to be that, okay? So I'm not saying everybody should be a Bruce Lee specimen, because as we age, some of those things change. But maintaining the ability to move, maintaining your physical strength and mobility is a definite plus to being a quality martial artist. That's it for today. Thanks for joining. Like, share, subscribe. If you have questions about exercises or programs that you can do, feel free to message me, text me, leave a comment in the section below. And until next week, as always, hit the bell, like, share, subscribe, leave a good joke, call your mom, be a good person, but most importantly, let's keep training.